What is up YouTube? It's Sean here, and today I'm back with a review of the Nike Air Vapormax Flyknit in the Pure Platinum colorway. For all of the sneaker releases for Air Max month 2017, all of them I'd have to say were backwards looking. So the Air Max 1 Anniversary, the Atmos 1, and the Master 1, all of those were in celebration of older or previously released colorways of the Air Max 1. But this sneaker, this is what Nike's calling the future of the Air Max line. These Vapormaxes released on March 26th, and they debuted with 3 colorways. This one, which is the Pure Platinum color, there was a gray and red colorway, which is nicknamed the OGs, and then there was an all black colorway that was a Nike Lab only release. The retail price for these was $190 US or 255 Canadian dollars. Of all 3 colorways, this one was the most general release, followed by the OGs, and then the triple blacks, which was the most hard to get. So the Vapormax comes in this white Vapormax branded Nike box. So we have this swoosh on the very top, and then we have this Vapormax branding on both sides of the shoebox. According to Nike, it took over 7 years of research and development until they were satisfied to roll out this final product. This is the most lightweight Air Max shoe that they've ever created. And to think that they've gone from this in 1987, which only had this small sliver of exposed air, to this 30 years later is absolutely crazy. From a high level, the goal behind this Vapormax was that Nike wanted the consumer to really be able to walk on air. In the traditional Air Max sneaker, this air bubble cushioning system was housed in between a setup of foam as well as rubber. So this adds not only a lot of weight to the shoe, but it also takes away from the experience of feeling that air bubble cushioning in action. Fast forward 30 years later, and that is no longer a problem anymore. So for the Vapormax, this air bubble is your standalone midsole and outsole. There's no additional foam, there is no additional structural elements to really take away from the experience of walking on air. So before we continue on, let's talk a little bit more about the upper of the shoe, because this upper is as equally important to this shoe as is this air bubble. So the upper of this shoe is made up entirely of Flyknit in a combination of wolf gray and pure platinum. When you take a look at the toe box, the gaps within the weave are a lot wider, so this increases the ventilation of the shoe, similar to the Nike Flyknit Racer. On both the lateral as well as the medial side of the midfoot, we have this Nike swoosh done in white. The tongue on this shoe is also done in Flyknit, and on the very top there's this Nike Vapormax branding done in a combination of wolf gray and white. The laces on these shoes are a flat style lace done in this pure platinum color, and they are supported by these fly wire cables done in white, which start at the base of the sneaker and make its way up, ending alongside the tongue. The purpose of these fly wire cables are really to add additional support on the midfoot area of the shoe. The collar area is quite stretchy, and it really hugs well to your ankles, giving you a nice snug fit. The back of the shoe features this Vapormax branding in gray that's overlaid on top of this white fused material that covers up any of the seams or any of the stitching that's found on the back heel. The Flyknit they use on the Vapormax is much softer when you compare it to that of the Nike Flyknit Racer. For this one, it feels a lot softer, it's a lot more flexible, and it's much stretchier. For the Racer, sometimes it feels like the Flyknit is made in a predetermined shape and your foot is just simply sitting inside the Flyknit. But for this one, it really feels like it's hugging every shape, every nook and cranny of your foot, and it gives you a much more snug and sock-like fit. Around the base of the shoe, you can see that it goes from a lighter color up here to a darker color right here. But in reality, what they've done is they've added this protective film over top the Flyknit to increase the durability in specific areas such as along the toe box and along the back heel. The upper of the shoe is entirely Flyknit, so there is no additional padding or additional reinforcement, except for there is this piece of this white suede-like material that reinforces the back heel, and that is the only exception. Taking out the insole from the shoe, we have this pure platinum colored insole with the Vapormax branding in white on the heel. And if you ever have a chance to hold this insole in hand, you'll probably notice that the back of the insole is a bit stiffer and it's a bit harder than the traditional Nike insoles. And the reason for this is, as I mentioned before, this shoe sits directly on top of this air bubble. So because of this, you probably need something a bit sturdier on the bottom to act as the in-between layer between the very plush upper and these pods on the bottom. So now let's move on to the most interesting part of the shoe, which is of course this full-length Nike Air Bubble. So the air bubbles used for the Vapormax were actually manufactured in Beaverton, Oregon, which is the home city for Nike's world headquarters. So when you take a look at this air bubble, you can see that it's made up of two distinct pieces. So we have one representing this top half forefoot area, and then one representing the bottom heel area. As mentioned before, there is no additional structural elements, no additional foam that makes up the midsole or the outsole. This Flyknit upper is sitting directly on these two massive air bubbles. Nike was able to incorporate additional traction to the air bubble by including these cube-like shapes onto the air bubble directly along the back heel, and then along the sides of the forefoot. They've added these milky colored rubber overlays that increases not only the durability but also the grip. On the heel portion of the left foot, we have this Nike swoosh logo, and then on the right foot, we have the Air Max logo. What was a problem for older Air Max models was that oftentimes they weren't the most flexible. So Nike has addressed this issue with this sneaker. As I mentioned earlier, this is made up of two distinct pods of air. So we have the forefoot and the rear. So as you can see, this shoe is actually extremely flexible. So the air bubbles themselves are actually able to bend with the movement of your foot, making it feel a lot more natural on foot. In terms of sizing, I feel that these are true to size, so I went with my normal true Nike size, which is a 10.5. For reference sake, this is the same size that I would normally wear for Air Max 1s, Air Max 90s, as well as for my Nike Flyknit racers. A word of caution though, this midfoot area is a little bit snug, so some people I've heard have gone up a half size to alleviate this issue, but for me, I felt that the snugness of the midfoot didn't cause me any discomfort, and I felt that overall it gave me a nice sock-like fit. From a comfort standpoint, I feel that this is such a unique feeling shoe. So this is unlike anything I've really felt before because you can really feel this air bubble directly underneath your feet. In the case for the Vapormax, you really feel that it's distinct between the forefoot and the rear. So on the heel portion, I feel that this air bubble is a much softer and much more plush sort of setup, whereas for the forefoot, it feels a lot more rigid and it's a lot more firm. The Flyknit upper is going to make this very breathable and very lightweight. So overall, I'd say that this is one of Nike's most comfortable sneakers, and it's definitely a shoe that I'm going to be keeping my eye on in the future. For all you guys watching, I'm sure all of you are probably thinking and wanting me to answer this one specific question, which is, how does the Vapormax compare to the Adidas Ultra Boost? My answer to that is that they are completely different sneakers. The Ultra Boost undoubtedly is one of the most comfortable sneakers on the market, but they are made in such different ways and they feel so different that it's really hard to compare one versus the other. It's really like an apples versus oranges comparison. So for the Ultra Boost, it is much softer and it feels a lot more like you're walking on a mattress or on some pillows, and your feet really just sinks into the Boost material. For the Vapormax, the airbags underneath your feet are a lot more firm than Boost, so you don't feel that same sort of sinking or pillowy feeling that you do with the Ultra Boost, but instead it's going to feel a lot more springy but on a much firmer platform. So now let me show you guys how these Vapormaxes in the pure platinum colorway looks on feet. So that wraps up my review of the Nike Air Vapormax Flyknit in the pure platinum colorway. Leave a message down below to let me know what you guys think of this. This is a very polarizing sneaker, It seems like everyone either loves it or hates it, and it's really hard to find people that are kind of in between. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and definitely give me a follow on Instagram as well at SGO8. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next review video.